Hello viewers, welcome to my channel. In this video we are going to compare the i3 3220 with the i7 3770. Both these processors were launched way back in the year 2012, and for that time even the i3 gave a very smooth gaming experience. But it is 2023 and we are here to test how both of these processors stack up when it comes to playing the latest AAA titles in 2023. This is my new channel. Help me reach 1000 subscribers and 4000 watch time. Do subscribe and help me grow. Going to the gameplay and benchmark in 3, 2, 1. First game we have Red Dead Redemption 2. With everything set to medium, we are getting an average of 36 FPS in the i3 and 73 FPS in the i7. The i3 gets an okay job when it comes to playing this game. The i7 definitely gives a way smoother experience. If you have a look at the frame time in the i3, it's okay, but again the i7 gives a way smoother experience. If we come to the CPU utilization, the i3 is pegged at 100% almost, and whereas the i7, if not 100%, it does reach up to 90% at times. Nevertheless, it's okay when it comes to playing Red Dead Redemption 2. Next game, GTA 5, everything set to very high settings. The i3 gives a average of 39 FPS, whereas the i7 gives an average of 57 FPS. If we have a look at the frame times, definitely the i3 has a higher frame time and the i7 provides a lower frame time. Even if you look at the 0.1 and 1% lows, the i5 is higher when it comes to the 0.1% lows. Going to the CPU utilization, we can see that the i3 is almost at 80 to 90% utilization the entire time, whereas the i7 hits a maximum of 50% utilization and doesn't go any more than that. In the next game, the Lord of the Ring Gollum, with everything at high settings with Nvidia DLSS on, we are getting an average of 54 FPS in the i3 and an average of 71 FPS in the i7. Even for a game this intense, the i3 is able to handle very well. The Lord of the Ring game is significantly well optimized for hardwares, and as we can see that 66 FPS on i3, 2 core 4 threads that dates back to 2012. It's giving a pretty smooth and playable experience. But if it comes to stuttering and all, the i7 does not stutter at all. In the next game, Hitman 3, everything cranked up till the ultra settings, we get an average of 63 FPS in an i3, which is pretty impressive, and 113 FPS on the i7. The i3 gets, is pretty much playable, and it's extremely playable, even being a almost 11 years old processor. And i7 definitely gives a way better experience because there is absolutely no frame drops whatsoever. If you have a look at the 0.1% and 1% lows, even it's way better. The i7 scores way better than the i3.
Take it easy, sir.
Moving on to the next game, God of War. With DLSS on and everything set to ultra, we are getting an average of 41 FPS in the i3 and an average of 71 FPS in the i7.
What did you find?
God of War is again a very well optimized game. It is actually using everything that the processor has to offers. If we have a look at the frame time, the i3 frame time graphs is definitely higher than that of the i7. Even also, if you look at the 0.1% and 1% lows, the i7 is again better at it. The i7 provides significantly better and smoother gameplay. Well, the i3 gets the job done. Moving on to the next gameplay, Mafia Definitive Edition with everything at high settings. The i3 gives an average of 52 fps and the i7 gives an average of 82 fps. Well, it's surprising to note that the remake version of the Mafia 1, which is pretty intensive, the i3 is able to play it at at a respectable frame rate. But if you have a look at the 0.1% and 0.1% and 1% lows, it gets crushed by the i7. The i7 0.1% and 1% low is significantly higher than that of the i3, and hence again in this case the i7 provides a way smoother experience when it comes to playing the Mafia Definitive Edition. Next game, Hogwarts Legacy. Oh god, this game is a disaster. With everything at medium settings, even the i7 is not being able to deliver a respectable frame. An average of 37 fps in the i7 and 24 fps in the i3, where the i3 gives a terrible gameplay experience. Just have a look at the frame times, it's at 40 to 50 milliseconds. And even the 0.1% and 1% lows are terrible at this stage. Well, even the i7 is not being able to do anything, even having an average of 37 and even terrible frame times. And if you have a look at the 0.1% and 1% lows, it's also very terrible. Now that is because the Hogwarts Legacy game is not that well optimized for any hardware whatsoever. The next game, Forza Horizon 5, with everything at ultra settings, almost with DLSS on, we are getting a respectable frame of an average of 53 in the i3 and an average of 87 in the i7. Forza Horizon 5 is a well optimized game CPU wise and GPU wise. Even a processor that is almost like 11 years old is being able to keep up. And yes, the i7 provides a way smoother experience if you have a look at the frame times and all. Even at the 1% and 0.1% lows, the i7 is definitely higher and gives a way smoother experience. But the i3 is being able to hold up pretty well. So games like Forza Horizon 5 and the few titles that I showed before can be playable, except for Hogwarts Legacy. Cyberpunk 2077, an extremely CPU intensive, with everything cranked up high settings and with DLSS at quality. Oh god, we are getting an average of 18 fps on the i3, making it extremely unplayable, and an average of 36 fps in the i7. If you have a look at the 0.1% and 1% lows of the i3, it is just terrible, and the i7 0.1% and 1% lows is also terrible, but it at least gives a playable fps and playable frame time. Well, where the i3 was stuttering every now and then, even the i7 was stuttering, but at least for the most part it was giving a stable fps. In areas like into the cities, it was giving a very chucky feeling. The next game, Spider-Man Miles Morales, with everything at high and at DLSS at quality, we are getting a respectable frame of 42 average on the i3 and an average of 61 in the i7. Miles Morales Spider-Man is a pretty well optimized game where it is using almost whatever the processor has to offer. But again, in this case, the i7 provides a better and smoother gameplay if you have a look at the 0.1% and 1% lows. But nevertheless, even the i3 has been able to keep up, and you might see stutters now and then at the i3, but for the most part it gets the job done. Moving on to the next game, The Last of Us, with everything at low settings, and I mean, you cannot really play anything more than low on a processor that's this old. Oh, this is another disaster. The i3 gives an average of 19 fps and an i7 gives an average of 40 fps, where in the i7 it is playable. Every now and then, even in the i7 it stutters. Whereas in the i3 it stutters like hell. Just look at the frame time, it just reached 60 millisecond on the frame time, and the 0.1% and 1% lows are just terrible. 9 fps, 0.1% lows. Definitely not playable on the i3, but in the i7, yes, it gets the job done. But in extreme busy situation like where where the character is now moving from, where all the people are here, it does stutter. The last game here in the list, we have Stray with everything at high settings. We can see that it is giving a pretty playable experience even in the i3 with an average of 65 fps and an average of 87 fps. The 0.1% lows and 1% lows are also very much respectable on the i3. But yes, again, it gives a way smoother experience in the i7, being having 2 extra cores and 4 extra threads. Thank you so much guys for watching this video. Again, please do like, subscribe, and stay connected and help me grow this channel. It's my new channel, I'm just learning. It'll take some time for me to keep up to the other creators on YouTube. Thank you very much.